What's really happening in Cleveland? Stay tuned, because the truth is more revealing than anything we've seen on the gridiron. But first, if you're a diehard Cleveland Browns fan, hit that like button. And if you believe we're heading to the Super Bowl this year, drop this in the comments. Go Browns. I believe in the Super Bowl this year. Let's get right to the heart of the matter and a thing quarterback situation that's dominating every insider conversation. Shedeur Sanders, the electrifying rookie phenom from Colorado, arrived in Cleveland with sky-high expectations and a tidal wave of hype. But the buzz may be premature, despite his undeniable talent. Reports surfacing from the Browns' second OTA session, open to the media, indicate that Sanders has virtually no chance of starting when the Browns face the Bengals in Week 1. Yes, you heard that right, 0. According to Zach Jackson of The Athletic, Shedeur has looked impressive in practice. When you watch him, he's a very gifted thrower. Accuracy, timing, all of that. If he can put it together, he's got a shot. That sounds promising until the rest of Jackson's quote lands like a hammer. But I don't think we should jump to conclusions. In other words, the talent is evident, but the coaching staff's trust isn't there. At least not yet. Kevin Stefanski, the Browns head coach, remains tight-lipped about when or if Sanders might start. For now, Cleveland is leaning on experience and stability. That means 17-year veteran Joe Flacco or the newly acquired Kenny Pickett will likely be the ones to lead the offense out of the tunnel in Week 1. As for the rookies, they'll probably be watching from the sidelines. It's a four-way quarterback competition, Jackson confirmed, but added that there's less than a 4 chance that either rookie would realistically start in September. The cameras adore you. The fans chant your name. And yet you're starting at the bottom of the depth chart, struggling to climb a ladder that's not just steep but bolted to the wall. But the quarterback room isn't the only source of tension. Let's talk about the wide receiver core. The Browns are staring down a glaring issue at WWR. Jeudy is the clear-cut star. That much is certain, but who's the second threat? Cedric Tillman has flashed potential but hasn't delivered consistent production. Deontay Johnson, once a coveted weapon, is now a veteran on a prove-it deal, and he's already drawing side eyes for skipping voluntary OTAs. In a locker room desperate to reset its culture and leave behind the wreckage of a disastrous 2024 season. That kind of move doesn't go unnoticed. Johnson, who bounced between Carolina, Baltimore, and Houston last season, has undeniable talent but carries a perception problem. Browns fans didn't hold back their frustration when he was a no-show for OTA. And while it's technically voluntary, the optics are brutal for a guy fighting to prove he still belongs. And just when the drama seemed to hit its peak, here comes Jamari Thrash. The 2024 fifth-rounder from Louisville barely saw the field last season, just 3 catches for 22 yards. But with Elijah Moore not re-signed and Jeudy occasionally sliding into the slot, Thrash is suddenly in the spotlight. Though Flacco currently sits atop the depth chart, the battle is far from over. Kenny Pickett, acquired via trade from the Eagles, still believes he's a starter in this league. Then there's Dillon Gabriel, the prolific Oregon product, and of course, Shedeur Sanders, one of the most polarizing and intriguing quarterback prospects in recent draft memory. These aren't just camp bodies. They're legitimate threats with real upside. And all of them are learning from a veteran who, despite the odds, still believes he has something left to give. It's a wild twist in a quarterback saga that has been nothing short of tumultuous in Cleveland. But the leadership isn't stopping with the offense veteran guard, Joel Bitonio, who nearly retired after a grueling 2024 season, is back with a mission, and he's got a message every Browns fan needs to hear. We've got to be tough up front, Bitonio declared. We've got to turn 2 and 3-yard runs into 4 and 5-yard gains. Our defense has to be ferocious. It's all about toughness. It starts at training camp. This isn't just veteran talk. It's a cultural transformation. The Browns are done hoping the stars align. They're doubling down on identity, on grit, on physicality, on being the kind of team that doesn't blink when adversity strikes. Because, as Bitonio put it, the difference between making the playoffs and missing them is often about how you respond when adversity strikes. You're going to lose some games, he said. How do you bounce back? How do you avoid letting one loss snowball into 2? That same mentality is permeating every facet of this team, especially the defense. Greg Newsome, now stepping into a more prominent leadership role in the wake of Jeremiah. Haushu Koromoa's devastating neck injury isn't pulling any punches. We all have a lot to prove this season, Newsome declared. Don't get complacent. This is a league that will humble you fast. And he's right. That 2023 Browns playoff team, that group is history. This version is different, hungrier, sharper, and they're not interested in replaying past achievements. They're forging something new, something tougher, something sustainable. So the big question for Browns fans is this all just talk or the spark of something truly transformative? Drop your thoughts in the comments. And here's where things get even more compelling. While the offense undergoes its own metamorphosis and the quarterback room dominates the headlines, it's the defense that may ultimately determine whether this Browns team mounts a legitimate challenge in 2025. Greg Newsome isn't just speaking boldly, he's leading by example. And with the loss of Jeremiah Husu-Koramoah, the pressure on this unit has reached a level it hasn't felt in years. And if you want more exclusive behind-the-scenes content like this, be sure to hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications. There's always that one pivotal moment, subtle, silent, that transforms the entire atmosphere of a fan base. It's not always a blockbuster trade or a fiery press conference meltdown. Sometimes it's a single digital action. While fans roar over highlight reel plays on Sundays, it's often in the shadows of the locker room where the real narrative begins, especially when the presumed cornerstone of a franchise suddenly steps into the spotlight for all the wrong reasons. On an unassuming Thursday, defensive lineman Ogbo Okoronkwo made a move that seemed trivial. He double-tapped the post on Instagram. Yet in the realm of professional sports, even a simple like can carry the weight of a headline. In a post in question, it criticized Myles Garrett's absence from Browns OTAs, subtly questioning his commitment to leadership. Now, Ogbo and Garrett aren't strangers, they're teammates, and this wasn't some random fan's hot take. It echoed sentiments reportedly shared by several within the Browns' inner circle. A small gesture, but in today's social media world, even the tiniest spark can ignite a wildfire, especially when it comes to locker room intrigue. The post-Ogbo engaged with pulled no punches, spotlighting Garrett's choice to skip OTAs for a trip to Japan with Olympic snowboarder Chloe Kim. The timing, more than anything, raised eyebrows, especially after his lucrative $160 million extension, designed not just to cement his on-field dominance, but to solidify his role as a team leader. The caption leaned into that narrative, quoting ESPN's Nick Pace, who bluntly questioned whether Garrett was truly the defensive leader the Browns so desperately need. In a team craving stability, those kinds of questions can hit harder than a blindside sack. What makes this moment feel even more charged is that, allegedly, this isn't the first time Garrett has been, shall we say, fashionably late. Whispers of him skipping mandatory team activities or rolling into the facility on his own schedule have circulated before, never fully confirmed, rarely denied. So here's the question. Does leadership demand constant presence and accountability, or is on-field performance enough? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. We want to hear your take on this unfolding drama. And hey, if you love getting the raw, unfiltered truth about your team with no sugarcoating, hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications. So hit that like button now and join me as I unveil every detail. Just when Browns fans thought the offseason would settle, everything flipped on its head during OTA sessions. And it's no longer just about Deshaun Watson's lingering injuries. The quarterback landscape in Berea now looks more like a collegiate all-star showcase than a conventional NFL depth chart. At the heart of this storm sits Joe Flacco, 40 years old. All business, speaking like he's already claimed the throne. And you know what? He just might be right. But let's not get ahead of ourselves. There's a lot to unravel, and trust me, you'll want to hear every bit of it. This is no ordinary quarterback battle. The Browns now boast Joe Flacco, Kenny Pickett, Dylan Gabriel, and Shedeur Sanders, each with a completely distinct background, style, and narrative. The leadership knew it had to move swiftly after Watson's latest setback, so they didn't hedge their bets. They went all in, adding 2 proven veterans and drafting 2 promising rookies in a single offseason. It's either going to be a masterclass in roster construction or the kind of high-stakes gamble that defines or derails seasons. But if you ask Joe Flacco, he's got no doubts about the outcome. I'm going to win this job, he declared to Sports Illustrated's Albert Breer. Just like that, 17 seasons in the league, a Super Bowl ring, and Flacco still speaks like a rookie with something to prove. But it's not empty bravado, it's conviction, and that conviction is resonating throughout the locker room. Flacco's message isn't just about confidence. It's laced with a keen self-awareness. He knows there's a new generation waiting in the wings, literally. One of those young quarterbacks is Shedeur Sanders, son of Deion Sanders, a man Flacco says he probably wasn't far from facing on the gridiron back in the day. That's the kind of context that sharpens the significance of this quarterback clash. Here's a quarterback who launched his NFL journey in the 2000s, now throwing passes to teammates who were barely in elementary school when he hoisted the Lombardi Trophy. And yet Flacco isn't just going through the motions. He's studying film, competing in drills, and mentoring his young teammates. That's what makes this quarterback room so unique. It's not toxic. It's not tense. It's unexpectedly supportive. And that starts with Flacco's approach. I want to be a really good teammate, he said. I love being in that locker room. I'm not worried about teaching guys and having it come back to bite me. That's rare. That's powerful. And it might be exactly what Cleveland needs right now. Newsom's words carry weight because they're forged in experience. He's witnessed the highs, like that dominant 2023 defense that made Sundays a nightmare for opposing offenses, and the lows, the fatigue of carrying too much of the load when the offense failed to sustain drives. That regression wasn't merely about missed tackles or blown coverages. It was about momentum, about rhythm, about constantly being forced back onto the field before you'd even caught your breath. But this year, no one's using that as a scapegoat. Jim Schwartz, the mastermind behind that 2023 defensive resurgence, is still steering the ship, and he's not mincing words. The Browns must be elite, no excuses, no exceptions. That's why the team doubled down in the draft, selecting defensive tackle Mason Graham and linebacker Carson Schwinger. These aren't developmental prospects. They're instant impact reinforcements meant to reignite the fire and energy in a defense that knows what dominance feels like and craves it again. Meanwhile, the culture shift that Kevin Stefanski and Andrew Berry have been driving is unmistakable. Rookie camp didn't feel like orientation. It felt like a proving ground. OTAs aren't casual walkthroughs anymore. They're intense, sharp, and focused. You can sense the urgency. No one's talking about flashing potential. They're demanding execution and delivering results right now. Even in the locker room, there's a different energy. Young players like Shedeur Sanders and Dylan Gabriel aren't starstruck. They're dialed in, and they've got veteran mentors who are embracing the role of teacher rather than gatekeeper. That's rare. That's powerful. And it's why this team could surprise everyone, because this isn't about leaning on one side of the ball anymore. It's about balance, accountability, and building a Cleveland Browns team that doesn't just reach the playoffs, but belongs there. The Steelers already feature a dependable tight end core led by Pat Freiermuth, sure-handed, consistent, and a reliable possession receiver. So does it really make sense to bring in Pitts, whose skill set overlaps significantly with Freiermuth's? That's where this rumor begins to lose its shine. And let's not forget Pitt's looming contract extension. He's entering the final year of his rookie deal. Any trade would necessitate not only draft capital, but also a hefty new contract. Judd, the raising chatter on another name, Jonnu Smith, and this is an idle gossip. Smith thrived under Arthur Smith in Atlanta, especially in screen-heavy packages where his yards after catch prowess turned him into a nightmare for defenders. He's not only more explosive with the ball than Pitts, but also had a far more productive 2023 campaign. Plus, he brings a different dimension to the Steelers' offense compared to Freiermuth, offering a complementary skill set rather than redundant talent. Smith would seamlessly fit the Steelers' vision of deploying heavy 12 or 13 personnel, meaning multiple tight ends on the field at once, a core feature of Arthur Smith's offensive scheme. Right now, Freiermuth is solid and Darnell Washington is a fantastic blocker, but the depth behind them is questionable. Connor Hayward and others simply don't inspire enough confidence to fully commit to this tight end-centric identity. However, adding Smith would also raise a significant financial dilemma. Do the Steelers really want to commit top-tier salaries to two tight ends? Freiermuth already commands a salary north of $12 million annually, and Smith, coming off a Pro Bowl season, is likely seeking around $15 million per year. That's nearly $30 million tied up in a single position group, a precarious financial gamble unless both players are featured prominently. Effectively, orchestrated formations and strategic deployments would be indispensable. But beyond just tight ends, the Steelers aren't halting their pursuit of dynamic offensive weapons. There's growing speculation about a blazing fast wide receiver they've been monitoring, Trey Palmer from the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. This 24-year-old speedster, a sixth-round selection out of Nebraska, clocked a legitimate 4.3-second 40-yard dash, cementing his reputation as one of the league's fastest players. Palmer's allure lies in his electrifying speed and his capacity to stretch defenses vertically. Though he's not known for making contested catches and his hands can be inconsistent, his ability to stack defensive backs and torch defenders on deep crossing routes is a tantalizing trait. Surprisingly, he's also an aggressive run blocker, an attribute Arthur Smith highly values. With Tampa Bay drafting two new receivers, Palmer's roster spot may be in jeopardy, opening the door for Pittsburgh to potentially secure a bargain. A late round pick swap might be all it takes to bring him in. Thank you guys. See you next video.